Bonjour, je suis not Manly. Ici le voyage d'espace JNSQ. We are sending up a 4-pack of long-range relays. This is part of the Nara mission. We're going to send up 4 JX2 antennas, and we're going to leave a breadcrumb trail between Eeloo and Nara. The alignment is almost perfect. Eeloo and Nara are very, very close to each other right now, even with Nara being at its apoapsis. But it's a straight shot between Eeloo and there, so we'll be able to use the 2 relay satellites in the orbit of Eeloo to help with our relay network out there. This launch was a little bit troublesome, but we managed to get these things into orbit, and we had to use the engines of the satellites themselves to finish closing orbit. And as you can see, I am missing my target rather handily there. Anyway, we're going to use old Boom Boom and the warp drive to lead this little breadcrumb trail along, and there are the satellites and another 4-piece adapter module we're going to use to bring the rest of the craft up to Nara when the time comes. Come on, there we go. Sometimes getting these basic launches is some of the hardest things to do in this game. I could have just constructed this thing in orbit, but bringing the crew back and forth on that space plane, well, might as well just send it up into space the old-fashioned way. There we go. So there's old Boom Boom and the warp drive. We're just going to dock this together. We don't have the benefit of EVA struts with no engineer, but that's okay. That docking port will hold together long enough for us to do what we need to do. And there we go, all docked. So we eject out to a safe distance away from Kerbin, and then we engage the warp drive and engage. What are we waiting for? And there we go. Let's get going! Now, I run into an interesting problem dropping off these satellites. As long as we've got signal connectivity back to Kerbin, we're okay. But as we drop these satellites off, we lose signal a little bit at a time. But hey, no problem there. We're going to leave one here, about a third of the way between Eeloo and Nara. Do a nice, reasonably circular orbit above the sun. The orbit period here is just ridiculous. You see, it's in the hundreds of years. So, as long as we get this mission underway within a reasonable amount of time, we don't have to worry about these satellites drifting too far out of alignment. So here comes the first satellite. Let's get this on its way. I can't get enough of these JX2 antennas. They are gorgeous parts, they are gorgeous antennas, and the animations are just beautiful. Look at that. There we go. No way we're losing signal with these things. So we're not going to do too many maneuvers here. We're just going to get out to the next leg. We'll fill up our exotic matter out at the second relay point. Because we're already at a reasonably circular orbit, we should be okay. And there we go. We're another third of the way up to Nara. We'll drop off our next breadcrumb here. And just to show you it was not a fluke, let us open that antenna up one more time. Look at that. Beauty. And now we head the rest of the way to Nara. Yeah, we'll stop just short on the edge of Nara's sphere of influence, and I'm going to show you something interesting here. The closer we get to Nara, the closer we get to actually closing our orbit. Nara is pretty big, so its gravity helps capture this thing. It's not the most ideal orbit, but that's okay as long as we have 2 satellites in a reasonably high orbit. Doesn't matter where we are. We're going to have it kind of go between the orbits of Enon and Prax. Not a problem there. There we go. So we'll fix that up. Make it a reasonably circular orbit. There we go. Come on, let's work out to the descending node, or the ascending node. There we go. Wouldn't know the ascend of the node from a descend of the node. There we go. So we'll have one satellite do an orbit period of 210 days. The other one will have an orbit period of 105 days, so that when it swings back out, we'll be able to have them evenly spaced on opposite sides of Nara. No problem. You see, we're starting to lose signal already. We're just under half signal strength right now. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's picking up a much further relay than it needs to. And there we go. Come on, okay. 105 days and change, we'll take that. And we'll leave an alarm for ourselves for when it comes back out here, and then we'll finish positioning the satellite at that time. Here comes the last of the relays. This is the second of 2 Nara relays. And we'll just have it have an orbit period of exactly 210 days, or within reason, maybe a few seconds, who knows. Just a little bit. There we go, 210 days and change. So that's our relay network all set. Let's get the main mission craft back to Kerbin. But look at our signal strength. We're going to have a problem. That foldable antenna is obscured by the warp bubble, so it's not very useful to us. We do have a couple of RA5 antennas there, but they're not going to have the range they need. So what will happen is in between relays, we're going to lose signal. So I'm just making sure we have enough exotic matter for this thing to resume its own course, and we will lose signal, but we'll regain it at the next relay, not a problem. There we go. When we have Kerbals aboard, this will become less of a problem. We'll also have stronger antennas. So I don't want to collide with that, so I end up going a little bit prograde here a bit. There we go. So we'll get past that relay, we'll get closer to the next relay. And this time I'm going to use Elu as a target, just in case we don't get close enough to Elu, and we'll regain signal by just going straight there. There we go. So we do have some signal outages, but that's okay. At least the craft can continue warping until we do. And now we can finish our approach to Kerbin. We'll get a nice circular orbit around the sun. And this is going to be all these finicky maneuvers back and forth just to try to save on conventional Delta V. We're also going to line ourselves up with Kerbin and the sun so that our approach is less expensive. We're better off doing these adjustments out here than right in Kerbin's sphere of influence, where it ends up being more expensive. And there we go. We lose signal one more time, but we're just going to skip past that because, well, we already know it's going to work. And there we go. Finally back to Kerbin a couple days later. Same problem as last time. Wrong inclination, wrong orbit, but we can fix that with a few hundred meters per second. And with that, our relay network to Nara is set up, and we can begin sending other components out that way. We'll bring old Boom Boom here back to low Kerbin orbit, where we can begin loading additional parts and crew. We do have some more runs to do, so this is not the end of the setup, to be sure. Not to mention that the trip to Nara is going to be a two-parter anyway. And there we go. Okay. And after sorting that out, we are ready to attach a few more parts and landers and various other things. And we will do that in the very next episode. Until then, I'm not manly. Fly safe.